Yes, we have Gary Anderson ready to do presentation. So let's call the meeting to order. It's Monday, April 17th, 2023. It's right now 5:36. I'm calling the meeting to order. Um, Could we have roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Vignolo? Commissioner Flood?
Present.
Vice Chair Shepard? Chair Loyola?
Present.
Student Representative Hanner? Commissioner Cleary? I'm not seeing. Mr. Chair, we have 4 out of the required voting members present. As discussed, perhaps we proceed with presentations.
Thank you, Jay. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is presentations, and today the presentation is Portrait Gallery, Installation LGBTQ plus Wall of Honor and Pillars, Public Art Projects. This is from the Public Arts Commission, and our current Vice Chair, Gary Armstrong, is here to make a presentation. Thank you, Gary. Welcome. Please proceed with your presentation.
I've always sat in the conference room, this feels so real. If you recall, I think it was in December, I came to your last Human Rights Commission meeting and presented the idea of Pillars of Palm Springs. And this was an idea that was instigated, or initiated, I guess is a better word, initiated at the last Joint Commission meeting. And it was then Council Member Dennis Woods said, what is your plan for along Tahquitz Canyon Way when those horses that are there are leaving in April? And we sort of took this idea, what do we want to do? And he made a comment that this is the welcome to Palm Springs. And so we sort of thought, okay, what does this mean? What does this really mean? After a couple meetings and creative gestations, we came up with this idea of calling it the Pillars of Palm Springs, because in that median, there are 6 5x5 cement pads that the horses are on. And so the concept is we're going to build pillars, 5 pillars of art, 6 pillars of commissioned art that will be each of them done by a distinct artist, and each of the pillars will represent an equity that we believe represents Palm Springs. And the equities are creativity, civility, equality, and serenity, diversity, and unity. And we will have a different artist do each one and represent them in a different way. We're not going to say this is how it has to look, this is what it is. We're going to give them very specific requirements on size. And in the RFP that we created, it was 5x5 and then a 6 to 12 foot height. And there will be no sloganeering on it. There will be no, sort of contemporary messages. This will all be a celebration of Palm Springs. And as I said, I presented this at your last meeting, and people seem to be very responsive to it. We presented this at council, and council approved it, so we're ready to go on this. And since that time when we presented it, the word got out in the artist community, and a lot of artists have come back to us, and they want to get involved, and a lot of different people want to get involved in unexpected ways, at least for me, which is probably what's going to make this really exciting as a project. So for example, with equality, we had a Hispanic husband and wife come to us, they're artists, and they said, we want to work on equality together. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. That's not what I expected, but that'll be great. We went back and forth with our equities, and at first we had community in there, and then I was like, well, maybe we do unity. Maybe unity is a little better word. Last Friday, I was at an event, and an artist who does neon sign art came up, and he said, oh, I've got this really cool thing, and he showed me where the words would flash back and forth and the numbers would flash. And I thought, wow, he could do something amazing where it says community and then unity flashes in that. Maybe we can achieve both things in there. And so that's why we kept the proposal very broad. We wanted the artist's work to really define how they view the equity. The primary thing is going to be they have to have a footprint in the greater Palm Springs area. They have to have a connection to this community. So the way this is going to work is we will be doing a solicitation. There will be an assessment of the artist, the decision of what equity they're going to be working on. They will submit plans to us and design ideas, and then they will get that all approved probably by next December. We intend to have these done and complete for next year's World Art Day, which is next April 15th. All the artists we've spoken to feel that this timetable is doable, and they're quite excited to participate. So we're very excited about that as well. And when we get to the point of choosing the artist, there will be an opportunity for the Human Rights Commission to have input on the artist to make sure that they're broadly represented and there's nothing controversial about them as well. Okay?
So that's great. This is exactly the type of collaboration that our commissions would engage in, and making sure that the Human Rights Commission has the opportunity to engage and to support the project, which is really good.
Well, as I said when I presented last, I really think our commission should be working together. You know, we are creating something and you are messaging something, so we really should be hand in hand. And so I've made a lot of outreach to your commission and the Parks Commission as well, because most of the art has to go in a park. You know, so they need to be involved in that as well. And that leads me to the next one, and it's the gallery. At the last joint commission meeting, I spoke to council and I said, one of our goals is to give an identity to the parks. And we want to, you know, each of the parks really has a presence, and we think public art can be used to promote that identity. We just did something similar when we moved the 3 John Clement sculptures to Duluth Park. We moved them from around downtown. We recited them, refurbished them, and they're there. And we chose Duluth Park because it's a very family activity-oriented park. And these pieces are big and bright and playful, and we thought they'd work well there. And they have room to breathe, so they're there now, and I hope everybody goes to see them. One of our ideas that presented at the last Joint Commission was to take Francis Stevens Park and make it a park that is all about social voices, social advocacy. Because every time there's a rally or a protest or a parade, it starts in Francis Stevens Park. That's where everybody meets. And we thought, well, let's do something there that shows the artwork there. Simultaneously, I personally was kind of bothered with the George Floyd mural. I thought it was an important message. I thought it was the right message at the right time and the right delivery, but the execution was a little challenging for me. It happened to be placed on a private building, and it was not on a city building, and the process of putting it there did not allow us to properly maintain it for that. So the goal with the gallery is to create canvases or templates so that we can be reactive and create art that is activist in nature, but it's also celebratory in nature. So the idea is that we would create a series of portraits, installations, 6 installations, maybe 6 by 6, that would be along the area at the corner of Francis Stevens Park and Amato. And then we would curate these on a monthly basis. We would have a month theme. So we would do a Black History Month theme. We would do a Pride Month theme. We would do Hispanic Heritage Month theme. And then we would also have some months that may not be themed to some issue, but we feel need to be addressed right now. So right now, if we were doing it today, I would do Banned Book Month. I would do something that we have banned books up there. Maybe it's a quote from the book or the cover or something like that. Or maybe we decide to do Drag Queen Month, and we have the portraits being done by drag queens or of drag queens, because that's something. I'm sorry? Well, Veteran Month, you know, there are veteran memorials already in the city, and there is work of art doing that already.
Work of art for others.
Oh, sure. And the next step with this is we would have specific months that we feel are appropriate, and then the community will get involved. So, for example, with
4th of July,
Veterans
Day, Memorial Day.
Well, we want things that last for a month. So we want something that would be very, very specific. But community as well, where there's not anything every month, but we also want to do things where we maybe could go to the Duluth Park community and say, you get a month. You can do up here whatever you want. We will approve it. You will do it. And so we just did this program called the Neighborhood Grants with the Arts Commission. And so we have got money approved from council, and the money would be $5,000 where a neighborhood could come to us and say, we want to do something in our neighborhood. Duluth Park came back to us probably 4 months ago, and they said, we want to paint park benches and tables. And we said, great. They did a whole thing where they solicited the artists themselves. The community voted on them all. They came back to us with the final designs. We approved them. Council approved them. They were getting the work done, and they thought, this is amazing. We want to do a bigger celebration around this. And that's how the Duluth Art in the Park started. It was because of this grant that we gave them. So we're now looking at these community grants as almost seed money. We're an accelerator with that, where we're sort of empowering the community to do work. Similar thing is happening in Las Palmas, where they took their grant and they want to put some artwork in a specific median between two streets. And we gave them the money, they're doing the sculpture, they're fundraising to make more of the sculptures, but they took this whole initiative as well. So we think this gallery concept will engage the community, and the community may say, we want veterans, or we want something a little more that's not necessarily topical of Black History Month or Gay Pride Month. And the idea is that the portraits won't be necessarily face paintings. They could be, but they also could be a quote from somebody. You know, for Black History Month, we could do Lawrence Crossley and celebrate him, but rather than maybe having his picture, we do a blueprint of Crossley Track. You know, and then you could have a portrait of Ron Oden there, and maybe a quote from Kamala Harris. You know, she's the first non-white vice president and the first woman, and she's from California, and we don't have anything celebrating her here. So this is a big program, and it's a big initiative, and we really think that this is something that would be in conjunction with the Human Rights Commission.
Certainly, and we're certainly very excited about it, and we look forward to joining forces and really start collaborating, because we need more of this.
Yeah, and as I said, it's not only issue-oriented, but it's also community-oriented.
That's the key thing.
You know, so that's the thing. And so as much as we say, oh, we think this would be a great message, the community may come back to us and say, we want a different message. So this is really intended as an installation that gives a canvas for the community, so they don't have to do it on private buildings. And then the last one is one that's not necessarily an Arts Commission project, but it's one that we're helping shepherd through. This is a private project. And it is an installation that will be celebrating LGBTQ+ community and their allies. And the goal for this one is to create a piece on par with the Ace Memorial piece that's going in the downtown park. And this will be something that will be, right now they're gearing towards Francis Stevens Park because they think that's a good venue for it. There may be some other aspects in the city and different places to put it as well. This is a very broad proposal because they don't want to say, we want a sculpture. They're opening up to a lot of different designers and a lot of different creative aspects of how this thing can be installed. And the goal for this one is to have it complete and installed in November of 2026. So there's plenty of time. And that will be for the 40th anniversary of Pride in Palm Springs.
You mentioned this is a private project, and can we know what is the organization or the group leading this project?
As far as I know, it's a mixed orientation. I don't think that it's specifically all gay people or lesbian people. I think it's a mixed group that is sort of saying we need to accomplish this and we need to celebrate the initiatives in Palm Springs.
Okay.
Are there any questions at all?
Any questions from commissioners?
Chocolates Canyon while the horses are gone and we're waiting for the new install?
Yes, actually. We're going to be purchasing the horses. So the horses were part of Desert X originally, and then we technically rented them beyond that, and we intend to purchase them from the artist. And then we can keep them there until this next installation will be ready to go. And then we will move the horses to another location in the city. And the location will be one where the horses will be able to be appreciated up close rather than driving by them. And, right now I think they've developed this beautiful patina. And
Sorry.
that's okay. So they will be, the intent is to put them along a pedestrian pathway so people can see them in person. The
Thank
value
you.
of them is no one will hop up on them in the summertime. So
It's wonderful to see all the work of the Arts Commission throughout the city. It just shines. So glad to see you continuing aggressively.
thank you, I appreciate that. One of our goals is to take all that energy of art, that art is everywhere concept, and focus it a little bit. And there's two kinds of art in the city right now. I think that there is neighborhood community art that some of it borders on decoration, painting the benches, painting the utility boxes. There's not message, it's just something bright and colorful there. And that's important. But we're trying to do things that are a little more substantial and a little more representative of Palm Springs. And I've been saying to the other commissioners of, if it can go in Scottsdale, if it can go in Portland, it's not worth our attention. We need things that really define Palm Springs. And that to me is the best part of public art.
That's great.
David.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I did have a question on the LGBTQ plus community members and allies, the art installation, the last
Okay.
project you spoke of. The review committee, consisting of 2 representatives of the Public Arts Commission and 2 representatives of the LGBTQ plus Art Installation Board of Directors. Is it, if we're collaborating, would it be even possible for to have 1 member from the Human Rights Commission on that review board?
I agree with you. And I think that this hasn't been updated. The document that was given me hasn't been updated because I think that Human Rights Commission should be a part of that process. And I believe at one point we discussed having somebody from the museum be part of the vetting as well. So, and you also want odd numbers. You don't want,
So
but again, this
does
is.
it have to get approved? Our inclusion on this review board, would it have to be approved? I know you agree. Would it have to be approved by the Public Arts Commission or?
Well, no,
I mean,
David, I'll do it for you and get somebody on the board.
that would be
Because
great.
I agree. I think that you should have, somebody from your commission should have a voice in this piece.
Yeah, then you have 5.
Yeah.
An odd number.
You know, knowing full well this is not a city-funded piece. This is privately funded. So, you know, we sort of elbow our way in as much as possible.
Well, that would be great if you could. Thank you.
Any other questions at all?
Thank you, Gary, very
Thank you.
much. Great presentation. It's great seeing you. Okay, so moving along with our agenda, unfortunately, we won't be able to enter discussions, but we need to move over to public commentary. Is that right, Jay? We have public comments in person?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have 3 speaker cards and potentially 1 additional speaker online.
Okay.
So I will go on and call the public speakers forward, and who will have 3 minutes for each speaker. Amado Salimas, the second, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the HRC. Appreciate your time today. Thank you for your hard work and the fact that you have started to question the monument report that we used to attack Mayor Frank Bogart. Once again, the city has halted your efforts to review public comments and to keep you from looking into the monument report, its authors, plagiarism, and misleading and false information. At your March regular meeting, the HRC voted for the second time to add this item to the HRC agenda. Not only is this item not on your agenda, the city canceled your regular meeting and then late last week posted a special meeting agenda. The entire monument report process has been fraught with flawed process that continues today. You did your homework and your action in January and March, and you set the stage for addressing problems. The report was largely plagiarized, and there's 100 or so factually incorrect information, distort summaries of facts, and a clear lack of integrity. Council member DeHarta, former council member Fote, and Coors and political operatives concocted a plan to attack Frank Bogart and did so with fallacious monument report. And by the way, that report was never signed by anyone, and no one refuses to take claim on creating that report. The facts now show that the BIA, the Indian landowners, conservatives, and guardians lawfully evicted the tenants on that Indian land. Plus, the city had a carefully crafted program to help remove vacant structures from Section 14 and made assurances that before the demolition, The city inspected each structure to ensure it was vacant and personal possessions had been removed. In recent records released by the city undermine the Attorney General's opinion regarding Section 14. The AJ report says that the city kept no records of Section 14. The AJ was invited back to Palm Springs to inspect the records and has refused to come back. The records are still here in the city and the City Hall and now available for public review. We are shocked again that the city's actions to keep HRC, you're sworn to our city to do what is right, for even discussing a flawed report and trying to set the record straight. I want to thank you for your time to addressing this, but we also want to make clear that you have a good name of the U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander, retired Frank Mitchell Bogart, a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces. We need your support as a Human Rights Commission to do the right thing, clear his name. You have countless reports showing that that land, thank you, was not city land, but owned by the Indians, and they were properly evicted. If I have property and someone doesn't pay me rent, I use the system to evict them. They have no recourse. Pay the rent or get out. The sheriff comes and evicts them. Just as we're evicting these homeless individuals, you've instructed our police department to go ahead and vote to remove these homeless individuals. Again, they're vagrant, they're on property that is not theirs. I thank you for your time this morning, today.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Salinas.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to note Commissioner Cleary has joined the meeting.
Thank you.
And next speaker is Andy Hollinger.
Good evening. My name's Andy Hollinger, and this charade the city and the HRC in orchestrating is being exposed. Our group is working to right this whole issue about the Frank Bogart statue. Okay, I want to remind you that we are not going away, and we're going to follow this thing to the bitter end. I'm a local 73-year member of this community, and I'm a retired teacher and coach and athlete from the local stance. And I just want you to know that I played sports with all my neighbors living in Section 14, and I never heard any concerns about them growing up under any oppressive conditions. We were all poor kids back then, and we all played together no matter what race, creed, or color. As I grew older, I became a teacher and a coach, and so those neighbors and playmates of mine had their children, their kids in our program, and not once did I ever hear one of my athletes say, gee, I'm the way I am because my parents were not treated properly in Section 14. Never once did I hear that from those kids, some of them daughters and sons, some grandchildren of my neighbors that I grew up with in Section 14. Their attitude growing up there was like all of our attitudes, and that was one of pride and the ability to start out at any level and achieve the goals that you're willing to work hard for. Okay, so will you please explain to us why the Frank Bogart Monument Report is not on the agenda? You've had 2 times to vote on this, and we're just thinking that you're kicking it down the road. Okay, we all know that that report was filled with false information, and the facts do matter, and slanderous information is against what this commission is supposed to represent. You should be concerned about honesty and facts and integrity, and the HRC should correct the mistakes and do the right thing. So now it's time to vote and put this back on the agenda so that we can go forward with this process. The ball is in your court, and I just ask, what are you going to do? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollinger, for your testimony.
The next speaker is David Christian.
Good evening. My name is David Christian. I'm an architect here, and I'm a relative newcomer compared to Andy. I've only been here 53 years this summer. And we're all asking, you know why we're here. You know, we're all asking the same thing. You know, there is a ridiculous report out that is packed with lies, slanderous comments on something that you've all heard about. I'm not going to go through it again. And it's got your name on it. It's got this commission's name on it. So you want it to be out there in the condition it's in, or step up and take responsibility and do something about it. And we're going to be here every meeting if we have to. And we're considering the fact that you may be getting dictation from the council that is saying, okay, keep kicking this around, they'll eventually go away and everything else, because there's a council member that is responsible largely for that report anyway. And so it may be that your hands are tied. Well, in that case, say, our hands are tied. The council won't let us schedule it. Or step up and do the right thing and put it on the schedule, or we'll be back the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christian, for your testimony.
At this time, I'd like to ask if there's any individuals on the Zoom call that would like to make a public comment. Okay, not seeing any, Mr. Chair. That would conclude public comment.
Thank you, Jay. So with that, we will resume our discussion items now that we have achieved quorum. Is that right?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, since we have a quorum, could we go back to agenda item acceptance of the agenda?
The acceptance of the agenda, which accepts item number 4. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include discussion of what to do on the Frank Bogart report. Since it was my understanding that at the last meeting, we had discussed putting it on this agenda and agreed to that. So I was equally surprised, as some of the members of the public have expressed this evening, that this item was not on the agenda. And so I am making a motion and appealing to my other commissioners to second it, to include that item on this agenda this evening.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Cleary?
I'll second the motion. That's my recollection as well.
Okay. Having had a motion and a second, we will include the item in discussion. Jay, as we amending the agenda, is it worth to start with that particular item, or can we move it in any place within the agendized items? Jay?
Well, I'll amend my motion to clarify that I think we should include the discussion of what to do, if anything, about the draft report, and make it item number 7, preceding the chair's comments. So it would be the next order of business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Having had a motion and a second, we put that to a vote. All those in favor of including this item in the agenda following public comments, please vote.
Mr. Chair, I'll do a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Yes. Commissioner Cleary,
Aye.
Commissioner Vignolo,
Aye.
Commissioner Flood,
No.
Vice Chair Shepard. No. And Chair Loyola?
I would say no.
No. Motion fails.
Thank you. Okay. So can I move to the next items? Or do we?
We haven't approved the agenda yet. It was, the motion was to approve it as amended. However, we can approve it as it is. Mr. Chair?
Let's approve it as it is, please.
Okay. Take another vote.
I'm sorry, what are we voting on?
From motion from the chair to approve the agenda, and then we need a second. Seconded by Vice Chair Shepherd. And I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Loyola,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shepherd. Yes. Commissioner Flood,
Yes.
Commissioner Cleary,
Nay.
Commissioner Vignolo.
No.
3 ayes, 2 noes, motion passes to accept the agenda as it is.
Okay, so we can now proceed to the items in the agenda as they appear and they have been agendized, correct, Jay?
That's
Okay.
correct, yes.
All right. So the next item in the agenda is chair comments. I have none. Item number 8 is the approval of minutes. We have none because we didn't have our standard meeting scheduled for the 10th. So now we move to item 9, which is items for discussion and action. And this is our committee and liaison reports. The first one being the Executive Report Standing Committee. We have nothing to report. The next item is 9A2, which is the PSPD LGBT Outreach Liaison Report. And all I would like to include as a report is that our next meeting is scheduled for April the 20th at 4 p.m. And we should have more information following that particular meeting. Item number 9A3, Master Calendar Liaison Report, Commissioner Vignolo.
Well, I think the only thing I have really to mention again for the commission is the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast, Thursday, May 11, 2023. I think that's the next big event coming up. And I think there are a couple of us attending. I'm going to put you on the spot, Lily, and ask, are you planning to attend or not?
Well, that's the funny thing. I did see your email. I want to. I really, really want to. But I have school business the same day, and I kind of have to be there for that. So if I'm able to leave the breakfast early, then 110% I'll go. If I can't, then I won't attend at all. So it's really up to how that works out.
I think you can leave anytime you want. They're not going to require you to stay. But the coffee is, the welcome is 8:30 to 9:30.
Okay.
And the program is 9:30 to 11 a.m. But again, I think you could,
Let me see.
if you can attend. I just need to know whether to purchase a ticket for you or not. I mean, if you're not going to,
Yeah.
I don't want to purchase a ticket for you if you're not going to be able to join us.
Where is
And
it?
it's at the Palm Springs Convention Center.
At the Convention Center.
Okay, then I'll be able to make it. Yes.
Or at least for part of it.
Yeah, I'll be able to make it for part of it. I'd have to leave around like 10:45, probably a little earlier. So, unfortunately.
You'll enjoy it. It's wonderful.
I mean, I'm excited. I definitely am excited to go. It's just gonna be, it's a tight squeeze because our school, the dance company at our school is doing the spring dance show, and I'm in it because of my dance class. So the day prior to our performances, we have teasers where the school gets to see it during a specific class or allotted class, and it's kind of a part of my grade. So if I don't perform in teasers, I kind of lose a part of my grade. So I'm excited to go, but I kind of have to be there for that.
So we certainly look forward to seeing you there. It's just as a reminder to all the commissioners, we need to acquire our tickets independently. We do not have enough people. Okay, so if you're planning to join and attend, I encourage you to go ahead and purchase your tickets. It's a really great event and great opportunity to see and engage with our kids that come from various cities for this particular event and other people in our community. So that's that for the master calendar. Is that correct, Commissioner Viñola? That's it, the only item?
Yeah, I think that's all I really have for that.
Okay, very well. Thank you for that. So the next item, 9A4, which is the Main Street Liaison Report. I don't have anything to report at this time. Item number 9A5, Organized Neighborhoods of Palm Springs Liaison Report. Commissioner Viñola?
Let's see, I did attend the 1PS meeting on April 11th. It was held at the Palm Springs Police Department Training Center. I'm just looking through my notes that I took from that meeting. Councilmember Bernstein was there, talked about the Blue Zones project that's underway. I think the council has asked for more, it will need more study, and they're looking at future membership topics. Quite honestly, nothing that I could find that we would really have much relevance to Human Rights Commission. But I mean, the few of the items that they talked about was that they'd like to include in future 1PS membership meetings is discussion about water issues in Palm Springs. There's apparently also a assembly bill to eliminate the use of canine units in police departments that may be on a future agenda item. College of the Desert is a recurring item. The Prescott Preserve and Oswit Land Trust project may be a future topic at a 1PS meeting. And I think the ambulance contract with the city of Palm Springs is something that will be coming up that may be a topic for future discussion at one of their meetings. They reported on the 1PS picnic, 15 neighborhoods participated, which was an improvement over the last one. They're hoping next year to achieve 30, but that was a well-attended event, which we participated in this year. Let's see. They did talk about, or at least I think council member, or maybe the city manager in his report mentioned there's an RFP out for the reparation consultant position. That may be of interest to the Human Rights Commission to follow. The budget, I guess, is also up for discussion with the city council. July 1st, it needs to be adopted and approved. There was a lot of discussion at the 1 PS meeting about the emergency homeless center that they're considering as a stopgap measure. So there'll be more information about that, I'm sure, reported in both the media and in city council, so that's something you should be aware of. I think that was pretty much the highlights of the 1 PS meeting on April 11th.
Thank you for that report, Commissioner Vignolo. Yeah, the next item in the agenda, any comments or questions, would be item 6, which is the Desert Highland Gateway States Community Association Liaison Report. Commissioners Flood and Shepherd.
I have nothing to report. Just want to highlight that the Desert Highland Gateway Association was strongly represented at the picnic, PS1, March 25th. And I had some discussion with some of the people there, but nothing to report at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Flood, for that. The next item in the agenda is item number 7, which is Veterans Issues Liaison, Commissioners Flood and Vignolo.
I have nothing to report on the veterans situation.
Okay, thank you for that. The next item is Youth Education Affairs Standing Committee, Student Representative Hanner, Vice Chair Shepherd, and Commissioner Vignolo.
I guess the only thing we probably need to go back and revisit, and I guess I'll reach out to Student Representative Hanner and Vice Chair again, is if we're going to proceed with trying to do anything during the summer camp in July, again, modeled after the human rights camp that was done in La Quinta that I had the opportunity to visit. So I just haven't had an opportunity to really formulate a proposal for that. But I believe they're still interested in having us do something to engage with the kids during that summer camp in July, maybe a week-long program where we can kind of give them some theme and kind of mentor them and help them put something together that we could then, have them present to us and to their peers and their family members and all at the end of the week. So, I'll try to put something together for the next meeting and send it out to my colleagues on the subcommittee.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that. Is this the event that we talked about in our last meeting? And I believe Commissioner Cree was also trying to get involved. Am I right about that note that I have here?
Say that one more time.
So from one of the notes from our last meeting, I understood that perhaps Commissioner Cree was also interested in supporting this initiative, which was the summer camp.
Yeah, I think right. You were talking about Commissioner Cleary helping out? Is that? Yeah, I think we had talked about that at the last meeting. I think you are correct.
Okay.
But really, we haven't done anything since that last meeting.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we've done youth education. The next item in the agenda is mediation liaison. Do we have anything to report on mediation?
I do not.
All right, moving on.
I have something to report there.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Okay, I've finished the mediation training and we'll be starting the certification process May 1st at the Small Claims Courts here in Palm Springs. And just wanted to remind everyone for the record that Commissioner Flood is also an approved mediator under that particular group.
That's great. We'll make sure that we add your names there. So when there's more things to report, you can all chime in. All right, so moving along, our item number 10 is the Equity and Social Justice Committee Liaison update. Do we have anything to report, Vice Chair?
There have been no meetings and no activity that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Next is in the agenda is 9AB, which is the continuation of the partnerships with other organizations. All I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that we have been in touch with the CEO of QueerWorks that reports that the Universal Basic Income Pilot, called UBI, program applications is now closed, and that 30 individuals have been selected for the current round of funding, and that data will be reported with the public or to the public every 6 months. At least this is the initial plan, and that a final report will be out in the winter of 2024 about the results of the program. If anyone has questions about the UBI, you can direct your questions to ubi@queerworks.org. And of course, QueerWorks, as we know, is working with DAP Health on this particular program. All of the information and all of the updates there are available on their website, and they do plan to make continuing updates to it as things progress. With regard to item C, which is 9C, and planning topics and activities for next year, we've already discussed a potential couple of projects for the summer. The only thing as a topic that I'm starting to hear a little bit more information about, and I think I would like our commission to start asking questions and doing a little bit more research and find out more about this topic, is the topic of human trafficking and what is Palm Springs doing about human trafficking. And that obviously has implications with our police force, our police department, and maybe some other organizations that might be getting involved. So that's one topic that I wanted to bring to the commission's attention. I'm starting to hear a little bit more about people talking about the big issue of human trafficking. So if anybody has connections or information and would like to get more involved so that we can start bringing some reports to the commission about this very important issue, please do so. Okay, so 9D is other commissioner, staff, and student comments. I will open up for comments.
Chair?
Is your mic on?
Yeah. I just voted against adding a conversation on the controversial report to our agenda. So I feel bad bringing it up, but I'm not asking for a public discussion on the subject. What I want as a human rights commissioner is to be updated as to the status of this situation. As you may remember, I objected to talking about it last month because I understand it's a subject of litigation with the city. I don't know that to be true. I would like to confirm that. So I would like us to formulate some sort of answer that we can give these citizens that come to our meetings other than just, we don't want to talk about it. I don't find that to be acceptable. If we are limited by something, I understand that and am willing to go along with that. But Jay, Hugo, how do we get an update on where we stand on this situation?
Thank you for bringing that, Vice Chair. Yes, and this is something I want to make sure that everyone in the commission is completely clear that there seems to be litigation, right? We are not lawyers. There is a city attorney that is handling all of this. And per the city attorney, we have been asked to not engage in further public discussions of anything related to the reparations issue. And we must follow our city attorney's direction.
Are Commissioners Cleary and Vignolo aware of that request?
This is, I think we just learned this week.
Yeah, but the reparations issue is not the same as the draft report that was issued. They're two different things, and I take exception to trying to commingle them. So, and I don't even know that there's whether there's litigation or not. I mean, I don't think that precludes the commission from talking about the draft report it issued and whether it needs to be rescinded or revised. That's a separate issue in my opinion.
I mean, beyond that, whether it's in the hands of the city or not, I don't see why it's an issue not to add it to an agenda so the public knows what we're doing. Like, we can talk about it in comments and be like, well, this is what's happening, but if they're not seeing it on the agenda, they have no idea. Multiple people came to us and said that they want to see it on the agenda. Why don't we put it on the agenda and be like, so the city's worrying about it and says for us not to talk about it anymore?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, a public speaker asked us, even if our hands are tied, just to say our hands are tied and we can't do anything about it.
It's my understanding, being a part of many different organizations and corporations and councils and so forth, that when the legal counsel for that organization asks us not to speak or not to engage in comments on a particular subject that may be part of litigation, that we should follow that instruction. And I'm seeking to understand why others may not feel that way. I know one of us is an attorney and the other one I'm not sure.
Well, then
but I'm confused.
I want to see the opinion of the city attorney with that instruction.
Pardon me?
I want to see the opinion of the city attorney with that clear instruction that prevents or precludes the Human Rights Commission from discussing a report it issued, not what to do about reparations, because again, I think that's a separate discussion, but just simply to have a discussion about a draft report and whether it needs to be revised or rescinded is a very narrow scope. And I don't believe that I've not yet to see anything that from the city attorney that says you can't even talk about the draft report that you previously issued and whether you want to revise or rescind it.
Is the problem because the draft report that you're speaking about, is it because council is looking over it? Is that why we aren't supposed to like talk about it? Or is that it's just we're not allowed to talk about it? Like, maybe I'm not understanding. I don't.
Chairperson Loyola, can you enlighten us any further than just to say we're not to discuss it?
So everyone is clear, we have brought this to the attorney's attention, and he knows and the city knows that there is a group of people in our community who are very much wanting to have this report rescinded or completely revised. It's everyone's understanding also that this is the work of a previous commission. Mm-hmm. The response that the attorney provided is that because from a legal perspective, it would be best to minimize further public discussion of anything related with the reparations issue.
Well,
that is the response that we got.
Then can we ask the city attorney to allow us to make a formal on-the-record statement that says the Human Rights Commission is unable to discuss at this time
right. I don't.
Palm Springs City Hall Monument Report issued on April 28, 2021,
'Cause
period.
It's odd that we're able to talk about it in comments and being able to speak on what is happening in comments, but we're not putting it on the agenda. And all of these people who seem very passionate about this discussion are coming to us and they're upset. It shouldn't be too difficult just to tell
I would
them that we can't move
Optics
forward.
are so bad.
I agree with you that the optics are bad, but I also have to give respect and deference to the city council. We serve the city of Palm Springs, and if the city of Palm Springs is involved in litigation on this issue, I think we need to use all caution not to make the situation worse.
I don't think
Has
that's what
the
we're
city
doing.
council given us that direction?
But I don't think that's
Our
what we're
chairperson
doing.
just said that they have.
But even
Then-
so, I don't
Then make a
necessarily.
public statement to that effect.
That's all.
Maybe they feel that's not the prudent thing to do at this point,
But if
due
we're
to the
able-
litigation.
But if we're able to
Commissioners,
speak about
if I
it,
may, you know, that reparations consultant you mentioned may open a lot of opportunities for more discussion. And I think at that time, which would be, say, by the next meeting, perhaps, well, that's bringing the consultant on board. But in the near future, there may be more information discovered that helps with these discussions and helps with the council in terms of what direction they would like to go in terms of handling the report.
Thank you.
I just feel that we should tell the public or our community that we can't move forward. Not necessarily that it's under any, not necessarily what is happening, but us as a committee right now are being advised not to speak further on it and not to bring it up. Not that it has to be a huge thing, just as he was saying, just put it on the agenda, say, hey, we can't move forward with this, we can't talk about it, and that the city has advised, the council has advised us not to. It's not that we're disrespecting the council in any way, and you're right, we are serving the council one way, shape, or form, but if the community is asking some sort of answer from us because they're just as in the dark as we were minutes ago, so why not at least tell them that we can't move forward with it, or that it's not, if that makes sense. I don't think it has to be anything too large, just a formal statement saying it's not in our hands anymore.
I mean, of course, if we produce minutes from this meeting, and the minutes, if I'm correct, if I understand correct, are available to the public,
And they'll see
they
this
are going to
confirmation.
know
Yeah.
that the city attorney or city council or some, has said we can't talk about this. So it may be a moot point if this conversation that we have just had is included in the minutes of this meeting and they're made available by the next meeting. So I'm not trying to give you extra work, Jay, but
No, it's a very good point, Commissioner Vignolo. The item is commissioner, staff, and student comments. We don't want to get into too much discussion on this to the point where it sounds like an agendized item. So we should be careful with that. But your point is well taken. I believe that was the intent of the last meeting, was to get some form of direction from either city attorney or city council on this, but I don't know that we have that. So again, I hope the discussions, when the reparations consultant is brought on board, this can be included so that some direction can be provided to the Human Rights Commission.
Thank you, Jay. Any additional comments from commissioners?
I mean, just the fact that, kind of as you were saying, Commissioner Vinola, I don't, maybe this is just me being 16 and not understanding like politics, but it's confusing me that we're able to talk about it in public comments and we're not pushing to agendize it. That is my only point here. And I don't think that agendizing it means that it has to be a full-blown discussion. I just think that our community deserves to hear why we haven't further talked about it, if that makes sense. Because all they can see before our meetings is the agenda that's posted previously, and if they're not seeing it on the agenda, they get upset, they show up, and they complain.
Right.
And not that it has to be like, oh, we're listening to them and doing whatever they say. It's not that far. I just think that they need to be in the know just as much as we're in the know if we're able to talk about it here during public comments
Well,
or during
and that's
commissioner.
the point. We probably should not be getting into this level of detail.
I'm just.
We should not be getting into this level of detail if it's not agendized. So.
Any additional comments? from
My only other
Commissioner?
comment aside, and I'm not even talking about this anymore, but I would like to see the minutes of the last meeting and this meeting made available before our next meeting. I'd like to have an opportunity to approve or revise or reject those minutes if possible. It's the only record we have of what's conducted.
And there's videos.
I'll help you if you want.
No, there's videos online of the meetings. There's videos online of each of the meetings. Yes.
Any additional comments from commissioners? Do I have a vote on a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Vignolo, a second for Commissioner Flood. Any additional conversation? Okay, having heard none, we're going to move to adjourn this meeting. The commission will adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting on Monday, May 8th, 2023. Thank you, everyone.